And we should be live. All right. Check. Go ahead and throw some audio in there, Hamody, so they can tell us
Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3.
how we sounding. Audio levels good?
We're sounding. I'm good in my end too.
Yeah, for the chat. We'll find out real quick if we need to go me up or down or vice versa. What do we got, guys? Chat? How's the audio? All right. Not getting anything yet. I need to go to my control room. We can start in just that, guys. Figuring one thing out real quick. And then we're boosting. Audio's good. Audio's good. All right. I like to hear it. I think maybe it changes stream latency. What's going on with that?
Awesome.
The latency is not. I didn't set that right.
Do I click on comments so I can see the comments, or just previous?
Yeah, if you wanted to comments, you'll see all the chat. And then yeah, guys. So real quick, what we're gonna be doing. All right, we got some feedback. Obviously, the chat gets really big as these go and gets out of control. So I've been trying to keep up with super chats as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Which you guys find distracting, intermittent. So what we're gonna do, how we're gonna run these lives. We got segments. We're gonna have 3, 4, 5 segments where we talk about topics. At the end of each topic, we'll stop, we'll pause, we'll take questions, we'll take the super chats. And I have the settings correct to where I'm not going to lose the super chats, because I know that was the biggest problem, is I kept losing super chats and I felt bad, but we got to figure it out now. So we're going to be good. I'm not going to lose your super chats, and it should be. Oh, do we need flags for this one? We might. I don't know. We got Hamdy in the chat. A lot of times we put up our Israeli protection flags, depending on if we're talking about Israel, Hamdy. If you talk about how much you love Israel at the start of a channel, you don't get demonetized or at the start of an episode.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm an Arab. If I talk bad about them, I'll get hit with terrorism. So I don't want.
Yeah. So we're gonna be good. All right, guys. For those of you, I'm excited about this one. We got a great guest on today. Just had Hamody on the War Room last week, and very rarely, when we're talking about war in the Middle East, do we have a guest on to where everybody just kind of shuts up and listens to what he has to say, because you obviously know way more than pretty much anybody I know about, obviously, Iraq, Iran, especially this conflict. So I'm excited to have you on, talk about it today. We got viewers will be kind of just filtering in here in the next 5 minutes. Do you want to give everybody an introduction to you, your background, your story, I guess, and obviously your credentials, and everything you kind of did on the War Room. So those of my viewers who don't know you get to know you before we start.
My name is Hamody Jasim, author of The Terrorist Whisper, a book and a documentary endorsed by the CIA director. I was an Iraqi soldier who was fighting with the U.S. side by side, the U.S. military in Iraq, who later on got recruited by the U.S. intelligence and became an intelligent asset. My job was to locate the enemy behind the enemy lines, which some of them were actually at the time Iranian operatives, members of the Mahdi militias in Iraq and other proxies that were supported by Iran, among al-Qaeda and on other terrorist organizations like the Islamic State, who later on became ISIS. So I worked kind of in the field as a soldier, as an operator, as the member of the first Iraqi division on the ground, participated in the first Fallujah battle. And my career in the intelligence community, it's a complete whole different thing at the same time that I was there. So you can say that I was a guy with 2 different jobs in Iraq. One is to be a command sergeant major of a unit, Iraqi unit that was fighting in the front lines, and to be an undercover asset for the U.S. intelligence to collect information on Iranian operatives within the Iraqi government. So I have specialized in this file since I was at age 18 years old, and I'm now almost 40.
Yeah, and you're also author of a really cool book, The Terrorist Whisperer. And why don't you tell them also, you political prisoner of Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
Your dad fought against the Iranians. I mean, they have a really unique backstory that we don't get.
Yeah, I mean,
really
honestly,
ever on the channel like this.
Iran is our mortal enemy, pretty much, in the Middle East. So if you look into the Middle East, we have had Iran as an enemy. The Persian Empire and the Arabs have fought each other through history. And, I myself, I feel that everything in my life happened for a reason. I went to Saddam prisons when I was 12. If this trauma didn't happen in my life, honestly, you would not have
12
found
years old.
12 years old. Yeah. I mean, you talk about Saddam regime. Saddam regime is like, I know it's a shocking thing for Americans when they hear a child go to prison at age 12. I'm like, look, I'm actually lucky I wasn't the child that got killed at a day old because their parents happened to be considered traitors of the regime. We live in a different worlds than Americans in a way. Saddam regime was brutal. And, of course, I went to prison at age 12, and that was like a normal thing that happens in Iraq. If you go against the regime, pretty much like you go against someone that represent the regime, you're done. I was just lucky that my family paid money and got me out of prison at that time. I spent about 6 to 8 weeks that was in a pretty much what called a concentration camp. It's like a camp inside of the Iraqi Ministry of Interior. Many people were there for many years. I was the youngest person to go into that prison. And, I always compare that prison to the movie Unbroken, like a POW camp in Japan. There were all kind of form of tortures they were doing on us. They had a book they bought from that goes back to the old Roman torture books of doing like red rooms and chains and stuff like that. It was absolutely a brutal lifestyle. If this didn't happen in my life, you would not have found me in the first Fallujah battle side by side the Marines to go getting ready to go to war. I feel that trauma in my life at age 12 had poured the concrete into my life, what I later on become. And it's kind of weird in my life to actually find myself in prison, and 5 years later, I'm standing next to an American soldier to fight the same person that put me in prison. It's a magical thing. You don't see it in the dreams, and it's like I was missing that major power to stand right next to me in order to stand up to that regime. Which the difference is that American soldier to stand with me. So that's how my life kind of started, and that's how my career started. I guess I was motivated. I was not fighting. I was not like the rest of some of the Iraqi soldiers were there for the salary or to feed their kids or feed their family. For me, it was personal. And I wanted to stand up to the people that my parents and my grandparents couldn't stand up to. So it was an opportunity, honestly, for me to just go make a difference in that world.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about we're going to start, guys. So we're going to have some different segments here. We're going to talk about the 12-day war because Hamody's got great intel and understanding of that whole thing beyond anything I have to offer you guys. We're going to talk about who actually won because we talked about this on the War Room. And it's kind of a weird topic of discussion. And then in the back part of the episode, I want to get into talking about Iraq, because as you kind of blew everybody's minds, and we'll get to this later, but you kind of blew everybody's minds, and we're so used to saying like Iraq was a terrible decision, removing Saddam was a terrible decision, and you have a very different outlook on that based off of how Iraq is going now. So we're going to talk about that as sort of the last part of the episode. First part, this is what we want to jump into. All right, the 12-day war. We talked about.
I know. I can see them in the comments. They can't wait. They're just like
we talked about this on the War Room, and the entire and again, you fought the wars, Hamody. I fought the wars. And never before in our wars that we fought was like everybody wins and it's sunshine and rainbows and everybody has to be happy and everybody tells everybody else what's going on and who they're going to strike. It all seems it got to be very, very odd. Also, only 12 days. And like we had talked about, all three sides claimed victory. Israel said they won. The United States said they won. And Iran is saying they won. So let's talk about first, because you had an interesting outlook on this. Who actually, let's say, won or came out the most beneficial of this entire thing on your perspective?
Phenomenal question. And I want to say to the audience too, look, when I talk about Iran, a lot of people were like, well, you can't take Iran's side. Look, what I bring is a fact. If you don't know my history, I fought the Iranian operatives on the ground longer than many people in this government.
You're not pro-Iran, I would imagine.
Yeah. And so like, I want to make that clear. Like, look, this is my enemy. But when I talk about them, I put them on a scale. Like I put fact on the scale and I back up the fact. I am not a Fox News guy. I'm not an NBC guy just taking information. I live this. I know these people. Like, I know exactly who they are and how they think, and I understand them psychologically, like how far they go. So when it comes to Iran, put Iran on a scale and put Israel and America. Do I believe personally that any one of them have won this? In a way, yes, they all won. And I could show you and give you the fact how they all won. So when Israel attacked Iran, Israel had a lot of intel. They were so much advanced in intelligence, and they were so much advanced in infiltrating inside of the Iranian regime. You have to understand, Iran have so many spies. Israel has so many spies infiltrating Iran. Meanwhile, Iran have 0 spies infiltrating Israel. So when we want to talk about, was this a bad move for the Iranians, or was this a good move? Actually, the Iranians have benefited out of this 12-day war more than ever. And here's how. Before this attack, they had no idea how many sleeper cells, Israeli sleeper cells, there were in Iran during that time.
Yeah.
They had 0 idea. I mean, look, for Iran to have a drone nest inside of their own country by Israel, that's just crazy to think that, right? Regardless of the intelligence capabilities of Iran, Israel found a way. So I give Israel 1 on that one. Here's what I would give the Iranian on this one. The Iranian have benefited from this psychologically, psyop-wise, like psychological warfare-wise, more than ever. Here's how. Now the Iranians are actually in Iran. We're talking about not like, this is not an analyzing. This is a true information that's happening right now in Iraq. This gave the Iranian the opportunity to get rid of all their political enemies within Iran. Meaning,
real quick, just tell them about that, because there was reporting that something like 500 Mossad agents had been arrested and executed.
Yes.
You told us a crazy story about what you were hearing with the missiles.
So what they did is, Iran actually is, this time they were able to distinguish to where the threat was coming from, how they were getting infiltrated. So now what Iran is doing, a counterattack, basically to find a reason to attack their political enemies. Most likely the political enemies who might disagree with them as a government, but now they are, they are just basically, the Iranian government right now is going to get rid of all their political enemies, meaning that anybody they want to get rid of right now, they're going to say, we're going to get rid of them because you're supporting Israel. That's one thing. The other benefit that Iran benefited out of this 12-day war is that some of the people who had not believe in the ideology of the Ayatollah, did not support Iran ideology, doing what they were doing, have now taken the Iranian government side, because now they saw what Israel did in their country. So it created some kind of a unity among the Iranian people.
I love that you say that, Hamody, because there is a clip that that I have prepared that we're going to talk about from Alex Jones. Yes, Alex Jones. And we can't. Go ahead.
I'll give you the gold nugget on this one.
Okay.
9/11 happened in America. September 11 happened in America. What happened to the American people? They got united, correct?
Yes.
They got united more than ever. Never before.
100%.
This is what exactly just happened in Iran. Is now Iran had their stocks have went up, and their acceptance among their people, because the biggest thing that scares Iran, if their people don't believe in them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what Iran has benefited. And that's a fact, to show you that I actually follow some Iranian, anti-Iranian government, Iranian activists who spoke always against Iran, and now they're speaking in behalf of the Iranian government, and they've taken their side. So that's what Iran have benefited from that. And they are basically regrouping, and they are changing the narratives onto how they can control their people again, how they can get their country back together again, and how to get rid of all the possibilities, the enemies, the minorities, the people that are speaking up against them in the name of being a Mossad.
Yeah. I want to show you, and I think this is This is really interesting because this is not what you're going to hear in American media. What you're going to hear in American media is how the opposite happened, that this has completely destabilized the Ayatollah's power, and the Iranian people are rising up and they're now emboldened to take down the Ayatollah, which to me never made any sense. I was on board with you when I first saw this. I was like, okay, Israel and America essentially threw everything they had at Iran, and nothing happened. For Iran, for the Ayatollah, for the Revolutionary Guard, that's a massive win. That's on the world stage of like, look, the combined might of Israel and America couldn't do shit to us other than knock some entrances out of a nuclear bunker. That's all you guys got. That's to me like, holy shit. But I want to show you this clip of Alex Jones, who's saying the polar opposite. And I wanted to get your take on this because, again, it's Alex Jones, right, guys? I get it. Alex Jones is Alex Jones. How realistic is any of this information? But I think it's a good way to kind of see the difference in what you are seeing actually coming out of Iran and what the American media is saying. So let's watch that.
We've been hearing about. All right, this is exclusive information, and I have this from multiple sources inside the executive branch and the Pentagon. President Trump and his strike on Iran has caused a chain reaction inside the so-called Islamic State. The word is, the reason we've heard there's a ceasefire is the military of Iran is now communicating with the Trump administration and the Ayatollah has been cut off. I noticed the Ayatollah in a post on X said Iran has never surrendered. That's because the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, is saying no. The military is saying yes. And I'm not saying it's 100% going to go that way, but that's what I'm told is happening. If Trump was able to get the military of Iran to roll over, then it's a victory, and that I'm not against regime change over there. And what I've seen with him saying they're not going to surrender, the Ayatollah, but his military has, looks like they've made a very wise decision. Let's hope that's the case, because regime change in Iran is great. The word is.
All right. So that's a and again, Alex Jones, right? But again, he's being told from the executive office, supposedly, that that's what's happening in Iran. That's a very different take than what you are saying. He's saying that basically we have a military coup going on in Iran, and potentially, regime change with the Ayatollah. The Iranian military is working with Trump. That's a tough sell for me. Again, because like the 12-day war, nothing really happened. Like, really, the Iranian military is going to flip on the Ayatollah now after what essentially is a victory for Iran?
Here's the deal. The deal is what he just offered, Alex Jones, what he just talked about is like a sample of the truth. And here's how this is a sample. It's kind of funny because I actually was talking about that just today with somebody. And the reason why I say that, it's because the goal is to get these sleeper cells in Iran to attack the Revolutionary Guard headquarters, to take over the TV station in Iran, and then start a revolution within the inside of Iran. Look, we all know Israel and the United States have tried this since 2012. They've been doing this so many times. They tried, and every single time it doesn't work. And the reason why I brought this before, we were talking about this in the previous podcast me and you were on, is because the Iranian people are around their government because it's a religious duty. The only way you can hit Iran, and that's how I say it, the only way you can destroy Iran, if you turn its people against them. We've been trying to do that for so many years, and we never got successful with it. Perhaps the Israeli rockets hitting Iran, it's really not doing so much damage. The biggest damage Israel has caused to Iran is actually the psychological warfare, social media, getting into the younger people of Iran, getting into their head, changing trying to expose the Ayatollah ideologies and the policies in the Middle East. And that's really what hurt Iran more than anything.
Yeah. And excuse me. I also want to talk about like this weird, like coordinated war thing, right? The way this whole thing, because again, if you think about, and there's some really suspicious things with each country and each leader going on. And I think this is what it's important. Okay. So what was happening in America right before these strikes, before Israel struck? riots in the street. LA, like you guys saw in LA, the illegal immigrant riots, like cities being burned to the ground, chaos. Okay. Donald Trump with a 41% approval rating at that time. Again, that's not my opinion. That's just about what it was. Like one of the lowest of all times at this point in the presidency. You've got Netanyahu, who was about to be removed from power right before October 7th, is again about to be removed from power. And then Israel, it's kind of like a common practice by Israel when Netanyahu's about to be removed, that all of a sudden they find a new war to get in. And then with the Ayatollah, he now has the victory against Israel and Iran on his back, wind to his back. So it's like all three of these leaders massively benefited.
Yes.
Politically and with their people with these huge wins. And it makes you wonder, with all of this admitted coordination between, which kind of sounds like maybe we told the Iranians to move their nuclear facilities and their uranium. It sounds, well, we know that Iran told the United States and Qatar that they were gonna strike. It's like,
and not first time doing it. They've done it before.
You know, they told Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said, "Go ahead, you can strike our military bases." Like, in what world in war has this ever been a thing where, like, I guess maybe some posturing, but like a real war where you reach out to the other country's president and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna strike your military base. Is that cool, bro?" And they're like, "Yeah, man, I got it. It'll help you out, right?" It'll, like, well, we got to get a win with our people. And the American president's like, "Yeah, I understand." Like, what are we even talking about here?
I feel like
seems suspicious and weird to you at all?
It's interesting because I hear you talking about it, and that's exactly what the American citizen is thinking. Like, what is this? What's going on here? But you know, the way I want to answer this to the American people that are listening to this, I want to explain to them, why do we think we don't want Iran to go away? Here's the thing. Do we really want Iran, the Iranian regime, to fall down? And of course, the American people can be like, "Oh yeah, we can get rid of this evil and we all live in peace." Let me just explain.
Where'd ISIS come from, Hamody? Right?
Let me just explain to you something why we don't want Iran to fall down. The reason why Iran cannot fall down, I'm talking as an American, as an American interest person. All these countries, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, all of these other countries, give them one reason why would they need to buy weapons from the United States anymore? Do you know how many weapon deals we have made in the name of Iran?
That's a good point.
Do you know how much money? Yeah, I'm taking you out of the box a little bit, right?
Saudi Arabia, especially.
Air defense system. We're talking about everything. If Iran is like,
and Israel, that's the excuse for why we have to fund Israel.
Here's the thing. Iran has made us so much money. I'm talking as an American right now. Like, I'm not talking, I know Iran is my enemy, but when it comes to my American interest, look, if Iran is gone tomorrow, you wake up and you don't see Iran anymore. Why would Saudi Arabia or Qatar need to buy weapons from us?
And why do they need those military bases there?
Why do they need our bases? Why do they need our Patriot system? Think about it, man. It's a business in the end of the day. Our government, at the end of the day, is a business. And the United States is, it's a business. We make money off the bad guy in the Middle East. Look, Saddam, here's the difference. Saddam was a bad guy. Saddam is gone. But now, the people in the Gulf countries, like all these Arab countries, are not afraid of Saddam. Iraq is kind of like neutralized. But Iran, in the name of Iran, you were able to get $800 billion out of Saudi Arabia? Come on. Like, you wouldn't like that? Like, hey, I give a high five to the president for doing that, because that's how politics works. And that's what Iran does. Like, do we really want them gone? That's the question.
That's why I love having you on, man. Because as much as I've followed this conflict, something I never even thought about that's so obvious. When I think about even the global war on terror, we've always sort of had that fake bad guy. This is why we have to spend trillions of dollars. Right now, Saddam, obviously a bad guy, that. But from it's always been somebody. But also with Iran, I've always wondered, like, we've toppled every other regime we've wanted to in 20 years, right? We did it to Iraq. We did it, Afghanistan, then we gave it back. But Syria, Libya. Like we keep Sudan. Like we keep doing it, but Iran is the one place that we've just been like wagged the finger at, right? But never actually done anything to. And it's kind of, you bring up a great point of like, that is a massive money producer. Why would you want to get rid of the boogeyman?
No, you don't want to, because that's how Iran operates. And since Iran came up with their idea, see, because what's those Gulf countries? Look, what is the one thing the Gulf countries are afraid of in Iran? Are they afraid of Iran occupying them military-wise? No, they're afraid of the Iranian ideology, the Ayatollah Shia ideologies, to cross into their borders, and then all of a sudden Iran has every say in their countries. So every single person, including every single person in the Middle East, are afraid of the Iranian ideologies to come near them. When you think of Israel, the same thing. Israel are too afraid of the Iranian ideology and the Iranian arms to come near them, like Hezbollah or Hamas. They're too afraid. They're trying to push it away. So when you think about it, this Iranian,
even like Turkey, right? Turkey wants that buffer, like get it away from us.
Right? Yeah, so everybody wants to push it away, right? Because it's a threat. Because it is an ideology that believes in getting into your business. And that's why I said this before, and people didn't understand me. What most dangerous thing about Iran is not their nuclear, it's not their ballistic missiles. The most dangerous thing about Iran is their ideology. If Iran bring its politics now back to Iran and they leave the world alone, we're all going to live in peace.
Yeah. And the next thing I'm going to ask you, because this actually is spurred on a new one to me. We're going to hit the super chats here real quick. All right, we just got one so far. Sean Clevenger, $5. Tim Kennedy would have ended this war. Guys, we're probably going to end with Tim Kennedy. There's some interesting stuff with Tim Kennedy that just popped off. Well, there always is. But Hamody's got some great stories about Tim Kennedy that we might talk about too. Some great comedy that we might hit at the end, right? So, all right. This is kind of, now that you mentioned that, I've always wondered, like, okay, it's starting to get obvious that you have this like Sunni Israel America Western sort of alliance, and it sounds weird because like al-Qaeda was Sunni, ISIS Sunni, Hamas Sunni, but at the same time, Saudi Arabia Sunni, Turkey Sunni, like all of these countries that we're allied with, and like you mentioned, Iran is like the Shia. What makes like the Shia religion sort of the bad guy to everyone is kind of what it feels like. It's kind of like, even you look at Syria, right? Like the 2IC of Al-Qaeda is now brokering peace deals as a Sunni extremist, right? Like against Iran, like what, and he was shooting down Iranian missiles. Like, what is happening here? Like what makes like the Shia religion of this like such a threat to everyone? Like as you just mentioned.
I think the difference between Shia that most people don't understand, there are two teams to the Shia. There's the Shia in Iraq, which the majority of the Shia in Iraq are actually followers of the Ayatollah Ali Sistani, who is in Najaf, who happened to be an Iranian citizen, but he is a true, he's pretty much the Pope of the Shia in Iraq. He is not part of the Iranian government, but you have the Shia and the Shia who are in Iran, basically trying to influence the Shia in Iraq. They're trying to influence the Shia in every other country, like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, every other country, to expand their ideologies. And that's the first thing. But the Iranian psyop-wise, psychological warfare-wise, the Iranian is extremely powerful. They're not only trying to influence Shia in the Middle East anymore, they actually already have influenced Sunni Muslims in the Middle East, in Iraq, and other countries to come join their effort. So now Iran is no longer supporting Shia effort in the Middle East. Iran's supporting both teams, which makes sense why back in your day and mine, they were supporting al-Qaeda, which supposedly to be their rival, but they were supporting them. They gave them a camp in Iran. They took care of them. So Iranians operate extremely different. And when it comes to their psyop, they are about 10 times advanced than the rest of the Arab countries. And that's what this war is going to be next, is Israel and Iran are going to go to an extreme in a psyop war to the next level. That's
perfect, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you next was where we're in the ceasefire, right? Like, does the ceasefire last forever? I doubt it. If we look at that relationship between those two countries, where do you see, you kind of alluded to it there, where do you see this going forward? Because, guys, Iran is already announced that they're still enriching uranium. Like, they've made it very clear they're not giving up their nuclear program. And why would they, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense for them not to. And then, so again, like, that's why the end of this war, nothing, like, we were supposed to stop the nuclear program. It's not stopped. Israel is just not bombing anymore because, oh well, I guess, and Iran is not either. So where does this go forward? Like, does this pick back up? Rockets start flying? Like you
Definitely.
mentioned,
Definitely.
You do think so?
I do. I believe that Israel is going to continue with its effort to try to, to attack the Iranian regime. And we all know that Israel sometimes don't even need our permission to do what they want. When it comes to them to do something, they will just go ahead and do it. And at the same time, this is just a 60-day truce. Like, Israel gave Gaza 60-day truce. This is just kind of temporarily ceasefire. I wouldn't call this a historical ceasefire because we didn't come to peace. We did not make a peace deal. This is just a temporarily ceasefire. And every single side, we're talking about Israel and Iran, is learning what mistakes were made during these 12 days. The Iranians are trying to figure out the holes that they had inside of their intelligence, how infiltrated they are. They're regrouping. Israel trying to figure out in the other way how to get themselves to be more successful in the next time they attack Iran. So we know this is going nowhere. What I believe is now the Iranian regime is focusing more than anything to keep the trust of their people in their government, and to kind of basically what Iran did is showed the Iranian people and people in the Middle East that Israel can be hit.
Yeah.
And that's the one success they got in it, that look, everybody's afraid of Israel, but we can hit them. And that's really where this going. I do believe now this could just start back at it again. This is going nowhere.
And to your point, what they showed, and I believe the ceasefire was brokered because Israel had nothing left in the tank to stop the Iranian missiles. And they needed to be basically backfilled by American money and the anti-aircraft systems. So I think, because like you said, like, they broke through the Iron Dome. Tel Aviv was getting absolutely smashed. That hasn't happened before.
Yes.
And yeah, like you mentioned, that shows Iran, like, hey, if you want to play this game, Israel, like, we can go long term. Because from what I've heard, and I don't know if you could corroborate this, Israel only has like a 3-month window of how long they can do military exercises for, and then their reservists are out. They're out of missiles. They're out of the Iron Dome system.
Yeah.
So is that something you've heard? Because that's something I've heard.
So yeah, the cost of the fight, like, I mean, if you look into it, Iran is shooting rockets at a low cost versus Israel that shooting rocket at it at a really high cost, $3 million or whatever, every time this system kicks in. Iranians believed in keeping this war longer term and to exhaust Israel, knowing that Israel will not go longer than the period. So in a way that, yes, this Iran could keep this war going for a while, and they're trying to basically buy as much time as possible with this. So yes, the cost for their Israelis was, so if you think about it this way, Israel cost more damage to Iran than ever. Iran cost Israel more money.
Yeah, and well, it's an American money at the end of the day.
It is, yes.
But it also kind of, I think what it showed is that Israel can't defend itself without the United States. If the United States pulls the funding, pulls the military equipment, pulls the anti-aircraft system, Israel can't stand up to the Middle East. It can't stand up to Iran. It barely could stand up to Iran with the help of the United States. So that, I think, is kind of scary for Israel going forward. And I wanted to ask you about this because this kind of just broke today. There's a bill in U.S. Congress that was just floated that would give Israel our B-2 Stealth Spirit bombers and GBU-57s. What's your feeling on the United States giving Israel our most high-tech stealth bomber that exists? I think it's a horrible idea, personally.
Honestly, think about it this way.
Everybody's saying, "Wait, what?" in the chat. Yeah, I'm going to do a video on that tomorrow, guys. Yes,
that is interesting. Right Actually, that's just that. Here's the thing. If we give Israel the tools for them to do whatever damage they can to Iran, what do we expect out of it? Right? Is it going to keep us out of that war? Is it going to keep us out of the fight? That's the question. And the answer is no. It's going to drag us into the fight.
Yep.
Because here's why. We're going to go, when Israel wants to do something to Iran, they could care less for what America thinks. But Israel wants your money at the same time. Yes. So could we really say no to the Israelis that we can't give you these, we can't give you the bombers that they're looking for? That's the question. Can we really say no? Can we really refuse the service that they're asking for or we're offering? The truth is that America need to avoid sending our troops to a fight that will eventually get dragged into this war.
Yeah. Here's my issue with it, Hamody. I don't think America should, and we don't. Okay. So there's a couple at the F-22 and the B-2 Spirit bomber and one more. I can't remember the third one. We don't give that technology to anyone. Not the United Kingdom, not Canada, not Australia, not our closest allies. Why? Because you don't give away your strongest tech to anyone because you don't know the future of the world and who your enemy may be. Friendly reminder, we've been at war with almost all of our allies. Britain, Germany, Japan, right? Yeah. So do you really want to give Israel, who, and I say this all the time, actually, we got to put this up right now because we're getting down that road. We'll get our protection flag up. Israel, and I say this all the time, Israel is not an American ally. And people go, oh, you can't say that. And I go, no, objectively and legally, Israel is not an American ally. There has never been a formal or legal agreement of alliance with those two countries. They're not part of NATO.
Yeah.
They are not our allies. So what do you mean you're going to give our most high-tech weaponry that we possibly have to a country that we don't know the future 30 years from now, right?
Why can't America make the final say in this fight? Are we really making the final
Congress?
Say?
Congress is going to make that decision of if we should give this away.
And the thing is, Will, you already know that Congress is
I think they're going to do it, man. That's the craziest thing. And not only that, Hamony, the other big problem is it's not just the plane you're going to give them. It's that they're going to take it and reverse engineer the technology. That technology can also then be sold, right? You don't know what anybody's going to do.
Here's my question. They get it. They attack Iran with it. What's next? What's next?
I don't know. I mean,
is this technology going to get Israel to have the fight on its own against Iran? That's my question.
I don't think so.
Okay, also, so what is that going to do? They're going to drag us into a war. What they're going to do, they're going to use it to hit Iranian nuclear facilities. And then what Iranians will do will respond extremely violently because they'll get to a point where they will not care. They will not communicate with us. And then somehow we're going to fight because Israel can't continue to have a long fight or have even ground troops or any of that. So somehow we'll find our way forced into a World War III or a war against Iran. So the truth is, this is not going to fix anything. This is not going to stop the Iranians. This is not going to stop their program. So I don't know. I just feel that the United States of America needs to have its own independency. Damn it! Yeah. Like
I know
how much more do you want to see? We talk about making America great. We're talking about putting America first. We talk about, caring about our troops, not putting our troops in dangers anymore. So we don't have a whole generation of people that comes back messed up from war and go standing in the line in the VA. And at the same time, we are doing things that would lead us to war in the same way. So what I believe, I go back to my main point. What I believe, Iran, Israel, the United States needs to go back to the negotiating table so we can figure out a way to limit Iran ideology just as much as possible, and to keep that at check. We don't want to be best friends with Iran, but we need to get them to continue, because let me tell you something. If we put troops on the ground and we go to Iran and we take over Iran as the U.S. military, will their ideology die? No, their ideology will get stronger than ever, and it will find its way back to come back, just like how the Taliban came back in Afghanistan 20 years later, just like how the bad guys in Iraq kind of kicked me out, went after me, and they became the government. I was the law in Iraq, and now I'm the fugitive. They're the government. So we've been through this road before. We have driven through Disneyland before. Why do we even have to go and repeat this again? So the truth is, we know that if, as Americans, if we go to war with Iran ideology will get 10 times stronger, and they will come out victorious like the Taliban did.
Yeah, and you said that on the War Room. What I thought was a really good point was that, we could invade, we can take over, we can sort of exile to the mountains, the Revolutionary Guard and all the pro-Ayatollah, and then we can't nation build. We've proved that. We'll give up eventually. The United States always gives up and leaves. Okay, that's 100% going to happen. And then when we do, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the thing. Is just like, I pray that we come to a deal. If Donald Trump wants to make a historical move on this one, if he wants to make history, get these two parties to sit on the table and let's eliminate both of their capabilities on starting World War III. Because we're talking about Iran needs to behave itself. We're also talking about Israel behaving itself.
Yes, I agree with that.
We need to get these two to eliminate the possibility of them going to war again, or the people are going to pay this bill is your kids and mine. And I hope that they don't have to.
And I agree with that. We're going to take super chats before we move to the next one. But like you said there, our kids, people have, you got to keep in mind timelines, guys. People are like, we'll never go to war with Iran right now. 15 years from now, you have no idea what the Middle East looks like, and the appetite for all of a sudden, because we forget as Americans, right? Like 20 years goes by. Vietnam's a great point. Like never again. Everybody said never again. 20, 30 years went by, and all of a sudden we're in another 20-year protracted war. Like 15 years from now, your kids that are, 4 or 5 years old are going to be 19 years old, and we could be in a very different position on the world stage. What's your thoughts on that? And then we'll jump into some super chats.
Yeah, honestly, yes. And I think that it's kind of scary. The Iranians are trying to form some kind of relationship, a stronger strategic relationship with China, because now they have kind of seen not much reaction from Russia. They're siding with China, and based on the fight between Pakistan and India, that the Pakistanis were using Chinese weapons. So Iran is really moving towards preparing itself in case this happened. I really don't want to look. Me and you both been to war. I have lived through war.
You more than me, man. War, you way more than me. Yeah.
And I just look into it in a way like, look, my dad was fighting the Iranians before I was born.
Yeah.
I fought the Iranians at age 17 and up in Iraq for 6 years. We've been fighting this war forever. Yeah. If you come to this war, you're not going to make any difference. You're just going to be ground meat in the middle of the grinder. That's all it is.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to hit the super chats. I got this figured out now. Not only that, but I can put them on the screen. Tech is getting good around here. All right, Dano, not the Lions Den, $7. Why is an Army veteran and I and others still domestic T-words, according to the FBI, not the actual T-words? I mean, is that kind of what it is anymore? I mean, I feel like the last administration, that was more of a thing than it is now. But it is what it is. All right, Xavier Nigeria, $5. Shia is to Catholic as Sunni is to Protestant, just like the European conflicts of the day. Catholics are viewed as a threat because there is extra loyalties. Is that how that works, Hamdy?
Yes, that's actually a fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good comment. All right, Blue. Iran has been pushing propaganda videos of them nuking Diego Garcia for a couple of years now. I mean, North Korea does that. I feel like everybody kind of does it. We kind of do a lot of propaganda.
To give him a quick answer, the only videos Iranians are not pushing on their own people is them bombing Israel.
they're not pushing those?
No, they are. The only videos they're
are.
pushing right now is them bombing Israel. It's to build some kind of a trust with their people, showing them that Israel can be reached.
All right, IL doesn't have the shit they say they do. Well, I'm assuming is that
Iran?
Israel?
Yeah.
Okay, Israel and Iran.
Israel.
Okay, and then IR doesn't have the shit they say they do, and we as us go to the highest bid for a contract. I mean, Israel has the stuff we give them, all right, and then I don't with Iran. God, I almost want to get into this because you talked about it on the War Room.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long one, but talking about how Iran actually kind of like puts together their things rather than like buying them.
They work with what they have. They are the most creative nation you'll ever meet. They're not only good at making rockets. Do you know? I don't know if you know. They make the best marble in the world in Iran. They have such a great manufacturing cities. Things they do, and they're not Arabs. They think differently. Trust me, they're a lot smarter.
Right?
They're advanced in medical. They're advanced in science. You're not talking about what people think the Middle East. They just think that everybody's the same. And the Persian mentality is extremely smart mentality. And look at their psyops, how smart they are, how advanced they are.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. SF-18 Zulu. Nice. $10 retired as a sergeant major last year. After 24 years, mostly in staff, still connected. The right people are tracking it, and real things are in motion. Tim Kennedy's days are numbered. I love that you said that, brother, because most people don't know because they're not in the back channels. You obviously are. Yes, this is a huge thing in the SF regiment right now. It's not just a he said, she said. It's as he just mentioned there. Yeah, he's he's in deep shit, boys. I'll tell you that. The days are numbered for sure. All right. Unlisted $5. Saw you on GBC channel. Are you saying TK has a blanket CIB? I didn't hear you say anything about him seeing combat. No, he has a CIB, but as Hamody would know, there's like kind of like participation trophy CIBs where like, hey, you're in a convoy in the front of the convoy, 3/4 of a mile up, got shot at. And so, hey, get everybody their CIBs. That's kind of thing. And then there's something like Hamody, who's in the fucking Battle of Fallujah. Like those are two very different combat CIB situations. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know, but
I was the manager of the Purple Heart Valley. You want to get Purple Heart? You come stand next to me, and you'll get one.
That's the one award we all are happy not to have. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Also, so Travis Warlock, the ground force commander, plus multiple teammates Dave Hoodstead reached out to talk about that. Every single one of Tim's teammates said they never saw him fire a shot once in combat. So take that from his own teammates.
Damn.
Oh, we got that one already. Tucker interviews Rob O'Neill. WTF? Is that recent? Oh my God, I'll cover that if that happened.
I hope he's not talking about Iran. That's all I'm like.
Remember,
please don't go there.
You know what? We don't want to get us banned. Yeah, that's a real one. Blue $5. We need to keep the B2 around and pair it with a package with the B21 raid. The B21. That's what it was. Thanks for that. Yeah, that was the third one we don't give away. Air Force has been pushed to retire the B2, and I disagree. It doesn't make any sense. It's still, it got developed in the 80s, but it's still our second most high-tech stealth fighter we have. So there's no reason. Plus, it's the only aircraft that can carry the GBU-57. So why would you? But who knows? Jesse Tor, $2.
Wahhabism, Sufism.
Yeah, I'll let you take that one.
Wahhabism, Sufism, Sunni terrorists align with Israel. They do. I mean, right now you have the Syrian guy, Ashara, is pretty much like a pro-Israel. So you are right, absolutely. Sufism, not so much. I think Sufis are really not involved as much. But you're talking about Wahhabism, Sunni countries. They do align with Israel. Yeah, they do. Some countries they do, because they find a reason to be anti-Iran, and it's just join the team. Either you're on this side or that side of the aisle. But Iran is smarter, and Iran has already got a lot of Sunni Wahhabis to be in their team as well.
What's a Sunni Wahhabi? That's even new to me.
So Sunnis are just Muslim. Sunni is just a Muslim. There's Sunni and Shia. Wahhabis are an ideologist. This is where al-Qaeda, the Islamic State ideology, come from. From Wahhabi is being called Wahhabi after a guy, a sheikh named Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. So they call it Wahhabi follower, and they say he was very, very fucked up. God, So
okay, got it. Well, this is why we have you on the show, is for real expertise. All right, Grand Bear, $5. Thanks, brother. Israel will perform false flags just to get us involved. Ain't the first time. I mean, that's been said. Everybody thought that was coming. I mean, God, I don't know how many of those posts and memes I saw during the entire 12-day conflict. I mean, even Iran said that. Iran said that supposedly their intel was tracking that. But I think, Hamody, it's kind of weird now because it's such an obvious thing that it almost feels like you can't really do it, because it's just like, I mean, maybe you can. I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly believe that I agree with that statement. Something will happen that will force us to go to war.
And
war with Iran.
Maybe, Hamody, it's something like it at a time when it's all peaceful and nobody's expecting it and ready for it.
Yeah.
And so the whole, like, nobody's thinking about a false flag, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere during peace, it breaks off. I think that's more of a strategic way to do it.
2028, you're going to have another election, and it doesn't matter who gets in office. The question is going to remain who is getting in office and who supported, who got him there. That's the question you have to ask yourself, is who's going to get in office and who is going to get him there. Who is going to get him there is you going to worry about, because if they want this war to happen, it's not your choice, it's not mine.
Yep.
They're gonna make it happen. But I pray our politicians are starting to really come out of the box a little bit, speak up. Let's see how long they can. Yeah, let's see how long they stay in there.
Yeah, that's true. When you go against AIPAC, it can be real rough for you.
Let's see how long they stay.
All right, instructor, stand by, $5. Rumor has it all soft bathrooms are changing their toilet paper to Tim Kennedy's DD-214. We love a good Tim Kennedy joke. Oh, here we go. Tim Kennedy killed 300 Iranians by himself. It was 400. He was surrounded by 400 of them. Which, Hamody, when you heard that story, there was 400 Iranian military soldiers in Afghanistan, in Kandahar. Actually, no, this was in Uruzgan. Because I spent a lot of time in Uruzgan, and it was interesting. I never saw an Iranian. Do you know about 400 Iranian soldiers
why would the Iranians
in northern Kandahar at any point during the war?
I wasn't in Afghanistan, but I'll just say this to make sense. Why would the Iranians send Iranian military personnel when they actually have all the Afghans as a proxy and they support them?
Right.
They give them money.
That's exactly right.
Even in Iraq, Iran, when they sent somebody in Iraq, they did not send an Iranian operator. They actually send us Ali Musa Daktuk, who was the training officer for Hezbollah, who was Lebanese. So Iran does not send Iranian personnel unless it's Qasem Soleimani, who is their top operator.
Yeah.
So that's my answer to that.
Not a thing. All right, Dan, not the Lions Den, $5. At the end of the day, we're all brothers. Thank you, Hamody and Nate, for doing hard things. Weak men wouldn't put their phone down. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Unless the $2, okay, that's what a blanket CIB, what TK has. Again, we call it a participation trophy CIB. Nothing wrong with it, right? You saw combat, you were near some gunfire, cool. But I mean, to then tell the story that you were surrounded by 400 Iranians and that's how you got it, like,
I think people are more angry against Tim Kennedy than Israel and Iran, right?
Well, right now, he's taking all of the mainstream news when it comes to the military and veteran community. All right, John Hanish, how many T organizations are cool with the Zionists? Weird how Assad is cool now. I don't know.
Assad is gone. Assad is gone.
Maybe he meant Syria, the new Syrian leader.
The new Syrian, like Ashara. Ahmed Ashara. He's cool. I mean, he's been cool, and it's kind of funny. He kind of told his fighters, once we liberate Damascus, we're gonna liberate Jerusalem next. And once he got to Damascus, it changed his mind. He trimmed his beard a little bit. He took it down, and now he is very out there trying to. I mean, hey, I give him all means.
I don't have a problem with it.
Hey,
if you want to make Syria not a fucking crazy war zone.
Yeah, if you want to make your own country interest, you want to put your own country interest over other countries. Yeah, that's the right thing to do. I mean, I fought against this guy in Iraq. He was an al-Qaeda leader in Iraq. And look, but sometimes I don't have to be all the way his enemy. We are enemies, but we're nothing personal. That
Yeah.
he is taking a route that is for the best interest of his nation. Why would I be mad at that? You know, do what's best for your nation. I would do the same for Iraqis. I will keep my business to myself, and I will keep the Iranians out. I will keep everybody out of my business and have my own independence.
All right. We got through the super chats. Thank you all very much. Again, if we get more, we'll get them into the next segment. Next, I want to talk about, because we talked about sort of Iran's movement forward is Israel's movement forward, because they're still at war everywhere, especially Gaza. And I don't know if I'm sure you've heard that supposedly there's this 2 weeks, there's going to be a ceasefire, there's going to be peace in Gaza. Donald Trump is brokering it. All it's going to take is that they're just going to remove Hamas and let Saudi Arabia and a few other Middle Eastern countries take control of the situation in the area. To me, it sounds like, it sounds super easy. All you have to do is just have Hamas leave. Well, Hamas ain't willingly leaving.
No.
So how is that going to end? Do you see a ceasefire in, I guess it'd be 10 days from now, and peace in Gaza? Is that something you see happening?
No, I don't, because the final say is not in Hamas' hands. The final say is in Iran hands.
Interesting.
And that's where,
explain that.
Yeah, I mean, Hamas was supported by Iran. It was very clear and obvious. And if Hamas does not get the Iranian support, they can't do anything. They're pretty much disabled. So could Saudi Arabia go in there and win Hamas over Iran? Look, when it comes to terrorist ideology, I like to compare the Taliban as the greatest example of all terrorists in the world. Most terrorist organizations, including the Taliban in Afghanistan, the more you pay is the more you give money, they're going to go with you. And I believe in that ideology. I believe this is what they did in Afghanistan. You know, we had al-Qaeda and we had the Taliban. But as soon as the United States came into the Taliban and said, listen, we're going to give you $40 million a month. Deal. Done. Kick al-Qaeda out. And I literally watched the Taliban spokespersons tell all the Arabs in Afghanistan, you can live here in peace, or you can just leave, go back to your own country. We don't need you anymore. So I'm a huge believer. Yeah, those guys are radicals. Those guys are crazy. They want to kill us. They don't want us alive. But trust me, when millions of dollars get dropped on the table, it changes the narrative. So when it comes to Hamas, could Hamas not be bought? Yeah, it's possible they could. So let's see how much Saudi Arabia is going to offer. Let's see
think Hamas could be bought. Like, hey, we'll just buy him out and have him leave.
Honestly, I believe it's possible. But also, what is Israel going to chip into that deal? Because Israel has to have some kind of a deal with Hamas,
right?
And some kind of Israel. See, like Israel don't want to give up anything. That's the problem we have. That Israel does not want to give one thing. I think what needs to do is both sides needs to give up something to get something. So that way we can make that deal happen. But I believe that Iran didn't support Hamas for no reason. Iran wants to control that stick to keep it as a finger in Israel's face. So that's why you can't take Iran out of the equation. But listen, Saudi Arabia recently have built a great relationship with Iran, and they've been friendly more than ever. And they have sent their Secretary of State of Saudi Arabia to Iran to visit the Ayatollah prior to the war. So you don't know what Saudi Arabia could do. I mean, the Iranian player will be part of the game no matter what.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about Iran's involvement in that. And then if Iran says, no, this ain't going to end, we're going to keep pumping money in there and arms and everything. Why would it? I'll just say, I mean, I saw satellite imagery of pretty much all of Gaza before and after. And oh my God, like it's like basically nothing left, which is just, I mean, we can say whatever we want, but it's hard for me. Like, I mean, I've been to some pretty back ass places in the middle of rural Afghanistan, and Kazaru's gone and shit. I've never seen anything. I've never seen anything like we're seeing in Gaza right now, of just miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of just rubble.
It's wiped out. And I think really that area have seen so much war and destruction and death is going to take years. To bounce back from this, man. This is a lot of people that died over there, and that's going to take years.
All right, next I want to talk about Iraq because man, I had no idea what was going on in Iraq other than from some buddies, who have been there. First, let's talk about removing Saddam from power because it is such an American sort of veteran trope now that the global war on terror was a huge mistake. Removing Saddam Hussein was a huge mistake. I've said that 1,000 times. It created the vacuums of ISIS and brought in the Iranian-backed Shia presence of control. That's kind of the way we looked at it, as this like strategic failure. However, we mentioned that on the War Room, and you had a completely different take as an Iraqi who lived under Saddam. Why don't you give us your perspective on that? Because it's nobody here, most likely, other than you, lived under Saddam and then also knows what Iraq is like now. So I think it's super interesting.
If you look at Iraq right now, which is kind of interesting, like the same people we're talking about not going to Iraq wanted us to go to Iran. So it's kind of like it's kind of interesting for me, right? It's just kind of interesting for me how like the average American thinks when it comes to war and powers and changing of regimes and how this works. Look, Saddam Hussein was a dangerous dictator. He was a psychopath. And I'm going to tell you why it's a good idea Saddam Hussein is gone. I'm going to give it to you. Why?
Yeah.
So if Saddam have stayed in power, and yes, when Saddam was around, there were no ISIS, there were no radicals, because anybody stands in front of Saddam gets wiped out.
Right.
But when it comes to Saddam Hussein's mentality, Saddam Hussein is not a Persian; he's an Arab. If Saddam gets a nuclear bomb, he would absolutely use it against Israel. Look,
you had said you don't think we talked about in the War Room. You said Iran wouldn't.
Iran wouldn't, because here's the thing.
But Saddam would have.
Saddam would have, because it's different mentality. Iran deals from a political standpoint. They play the political game. This dude does not play games. We're all aware of this. That if Saddam had stayed and somehow, like, actually, it's kind of interesting. I wish I could show this photo to the American people of a picture in Saddam in his nuclear reactor, like his nuclear program with the scientists. 1983, he was looking into getting weapons, nuclear bomb to be made. And at the time, Israel have airstriked his program. It kind of pushed him back. But listen, Saddam Hussein, I will give you one story that will answer your question and give you this fact. If Saddam Hussein gets a nuclear bomb, he would totally use it. And I don't think it's just against Israel, against anybody.
Iran, even
Iran, he would do it. And look, Saddam Hussein, when he was a deputy of the president of Iraq in the 70s, 1972 and 73, they went to war with Israel because Syria was in a war with Israel over the Golan Heights. And Saddam, as a deputy, even though we had a president, but the president didn't make any decisions. Saddam was kind of like the powerhouse making these decisions. Saddam sent his troops to Syria to fight the Israelis under one rule and one condition that he required the Israelis. And he told, he required from the Syrian, and he told the Syrians, I'm going to send you my troops, because the Israelis were literally in the border of Damascus. I'm going to send my troops, but no peace deal. If you make peace with Israel, I'm out.
Yeah.
So when I talk about this mentality, I understand the history of this mentality and how far it goes. Listen, Saddam Hussein is a replica of Stalin. If you wonder everything that Saddam did to us, all that prison that I went to in Iraq, everything Saddam did in Iraq was actually a replica, because he read all of Stalin's books.
Interesting.
If you play the tape backwards on Saddam Hussein's life right now, same exact behavior Stalin did, Saddam Hussein did it. Stalin executed generals that lost battles. Saddam did that in the Iran-Iraq War. He did it in 1991 when the first Gulf War. Everything you see about Saddam, and including him smoking cigar, the way he smokes that cigar, was exactly how Stalin smoked that cigar. So when I tell you the man was inspired by Stalin, the man is not a joke. If he hadn't stayed, you would think he would just leave you alone, or he would keep his politics inside of Iraq. The question is, Iraq got neutralized. Saddam had to go. because Saddam was a real danger, and there were no way to have a conversation with Saddam like you are doing with Iran, where they're like letting you know that we're going to shoot rockets at the base. They're very collaborative, man. They're very cooperating with you.
And like letting inspectors come see their stuff.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Saddam never allowed any of that
Listen,
shit.
Saddam signed on a deal in 1991 to not continue his ballistic missile program. Do you think if he is here in power today in 2025, do you know what kind of ballistic missile program he would have?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be harassing Bahrain like a little kid, you know, like he will just rule the Middle East. So, you know, in a way, do we think, like removing Saddam was a bad idea? Yeah, of course, because it made Iraq into a conflict zone, and everybody kind of took care of their business, and made Iran more stronger because he was the one guy that scared the shit out of Iran. He fought Iran for 8 years.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When we fought Iran as Iraqis, all of us as Iraqis were 20 million. They were 75 million. They had a three-sized military that we had. And guess what? If America did not step in to help us against Iran, we would have been wiped out. Wow. We would have been done. And I'm saying this as information because my dad was an officer in the Iraqi military. And my dad spoke English as an Iraqi officer. And my dad said we had an American, we have an air combat controller, American advisor at the Iraqi Ministry of Defense in the 80s, help us find Iranian targets to liberate Al-Faw Island.
Huh. Wow.
America interfered by sending its officers to go help the Iraqis at the operation room we can get them. And my dad later on became the head of the Iraqi military linguist school in the Iraqi military. So in order for you to learn English in the Iraqi military, you have to go through the school to learn it. And my dad said they had a major in the U.S. military who was able to locate the Iranian strongholds in Al-Faw, so Saddam can get Al-Faw back and kick the Iranian out and eliminate the Iranians from having Al-Faw Island, which was a major powerhouse for them. So, why did we help Saddam back then? Because, you know, we needed to keep this power neutralized. And, you know, in a way, it's hard for me to say, because if Saddam had stayed, you would have bigger problem than what you have right now.
That's interesting. That's an interesting. It's hindsight's 2020, right? Like hindsight, we removed Saddam. Did we think like that vacuum? We handled it wrong. That vacuum then creates, you know, the ISIS caliphate and all different. Like we probably, obviously, nobody really saw that coming. Maybe on your guys' end, that could have been an obvious thing. But again, hindsight being 2020, like, okay, let's say Saddam stayed in power this entire time. Is that, you know, for those last 25 years, would we have ended up in the Middle East fighting Iraq or Saddam at some point, no matter what? Sounds like probably, based off of his behavior. So it sounds like it was going to happen no matter what. Why don't you tell us about Iraq now, right? Because we talked about I saw a picture the other day, and I think I talked to you about, like, it looked like a Green Beret motorcycle gang. Like it looked like just a bunch of SF dudes. It looked like completely Americanized on Harleys. Like, it's not what I expected when I was thinking about what's going on in Iraq right now.
I mean, Iraq is different than Afghanistan, clearly, because we come from different backgrounds. We come from different religious backgrounds, different ethnicities, different ways of doing things. And what's so beautiful about Iraq is, regardless that the government in Iraq may not be a good people, maybe puppets of the Iranian regime, because Iran had to make a call. But we're talking about the people of Iraq. What are the changes that happened in Iraq that made Iraq the way it is now? First of all, we never had a generation of Iraqis that speaks up against Iranian influence or against the government influence or against Saddam. Because my generation and my parents' generation were taught not to speak. Where the internet came in with the American soldier in Iraq, because we didn't even have cell phones in Iraq when you guys came in. We had internet, we had cell phones, and slowly the internet took over. And that changed generation, and including the American soldiers standing on the ground in Iraq. It changed the mentality of the Iraqi person. And it brought as someone that is completely different. You could say someone who is part of American democracy. I almost feel like right now in Iraq, we have a bunch of liberals that are unhappy and they're speaking up and they're like, I don't care what you're going to do to me. And I think it's healthy that we actually have people that speaks out, people that speaks out, people that are like, standing up against the regime. So mentality wise, Iraqis have came along. I mean, look at the businesses that are opened up in Baghdad. Look at the infrastructure, malls. When I left Iraq, 0 malls. Now Iraq has so many malls, so many American brands, American restaurants.
What about American fast food?
America, they have McDonald's, they have Burger Kings, they have Chili's.
They've got Chili's in here. All right, that's how you know.
They have some fake ass Starbucks in Iraq that Starbucks had to file a lawsuit against them saying this is not us.
That's the funniest thing. That's like the running joke of, because like Vietnam now, I think there's McDonald's now in Vietnam, and it's like it might have taken 50 years, but America finally won the war. Like if there's a McDonald's in your country, America officially won. But Chili's, man, if there's a Chili's in your country, you are definitely Americanized. That's wild, man.
Honestly, we have everything. We have gun stores in Iraq.
Like, really?
Yeah. We have people in Baghdad right now. They have gun stores and they sell guns and they sell M4s and they sell all these guns.
And just the regular civilians can buy them?
Yep. The regular civilian people selling training and all that stuff. We have more.
You actually do have freedom if you can buy guns. I'll tell you that.
Let me tell you something. Here's what we have. If there was an Olympics of alcoholism,
oh, that's right. You told me.
We would beat your asses in the Olympics of alcoholism because we have more alcohol consumption in Iraq than ever. Perhaps the Iraqi government tried to pass a law to prohibit selling of alcohol because in Fallujah, the city of radicals that we fought in 2004, the city of guys that said, Allahu Akbar, I'm going to behead you as soon as you get to my town. They drove a whole tractor trailer full of vodka and hard liquor.
In Fallujah?
In Fallujah. They drove it from Baghdad to Fallujah. And that's a true statement by an Iraqi politician, by the way.
Wow.
They drove this tractor trailer into Fallujah. It's sold within 20 minutes, half an hour. It was done. Sold out. Where in the U.S. can you sell out a tractor trailer of alcohol in 20 minutes?
So, but I mean, it's not, alcohol obviously is, all the time I spent in the Middle East, nobody was allowed to drink alcohol, but is that just
actually, there is a war going on right now between alcoholics and religious fanatics in Iraq. Fallujah right now.
Yeah.
They came to a real
it's like prohibition in America going on in Iraq right now.
Yeah, like
crazy.
Fallujah right now having a conflict between actually religious ideologists in Fallujah who are trying to kick alcohol out of Fallujah. And more than 50% of Iraqi citizens of Fallujah says, we don't give a damn about your mosque. We just want to have alcohol and have fun. And
Tim Hill says this is super interesting stuff. I told you guys this is why I was excited to have Hamody on, because he's got a perspective on all this that none of us have as Americans to have any idea. Like if you told me before I talked to Hamody last week, you'd have asked me, and this is as a global war and terror veteran, what's Iraq like right now? I would have been like, probably terrorism everywhere. You've got the Shias in control, probably remnants of al-Qaeda and ISIS, and the cities are out of it's just an apocalypse. And then I hear nah, man, there's motorcycle gangs and Chili's and tons of booze and partying. And it's like, what
many Americans have already went to visit, honestly. Many Americans have went to visit. Many, not like one or two. I have a lady that I was actually talking to last night. She went to Basra. She went to the marshes in the south of Iraq. White girl from Pennsylvania. She went and got to see Babylon, all that stuff. Wow. The only dangerous to her is she stayed longer. And she was dating some Iraqi guy in Baghdad who got picked up by a militia who was like happened to be like Asab al-Haq, and they kind of questioned him. They're like, "Hey, are you sure she's not an American spy? Why is she staying longer?"
Yeah.
You know, do they really have an interest? You know, do people really have an interest to hurt Americans over there? Not at all. They actually, a lot of YouTubers, American YouTubers, have went to Iraq, and you can look it up for yourself on YouTube, and you'll see that. What's so nice, actually, one American YouTuber went to Iraq, and he went to Haifa Street, where I fought in 2004 heavily, where I got shot, literally. And they invited him over for gin, for like to have a gin drink, for an alcoholic drink. They invited him over to his house. He had fun. Wow. He had a drink. He had an alcoholic drink at an Iraqi dude house. And
that's so wild.
People are different. People are different.
It's like, you know, that's a really big thing in Vietnam now with my dad's generation who fought that war. Like tons of those guys now go back and visit and like see and everything. It's like, I think it's really cool for them to be able to do. And I think that's cool for American veterans, maybe of the Iraq War, you know, as time goes on, to be able to like go back. Like imagine like, and you would know, you fought in Fallujah.
Yeah.
The Marines that fought in Fallujah, for them to like be able to go back now and be on the same streets that they were in. Like, guys, if you don't know about the Battle of Fallujah, especially the first one that Hamody was in, I say it all the time. I didn't see jack shit of combat compared to those Marines and Hamody. That Battle of Fallujah, I'll tell you this. One of my friends, Hamody, who's a Delta Force legend, he's in the Oregon Military Hall of Fame. He is the dude that killed Uday Hussein. His bullets, right? This guy is a legend.
Wow. So he was in the 101st.
Well, he was in Delta at the
time. Okay.
But I mean, you might remember the story. There was basically during the first Battle of Fallujah, or maybe it was the second. I think it was the first. There was Marines had pushed so far forward. I think Cody Alford tells the story. Yeah. And they basically got trapped in a building and were just getting absolutely destroyed. And a Delta team basically showed up with a couple of medics to try to help them get all the guys out. Yeah. That was my buddy. That was one of my buddies. And he said, and he was in Kosovo, Bosnia, like all the craziest shit in all the wars. And he was like, that battle was the craziest shit I was in my entire military career. It wasn't even fucking close to anything.
It was a toe-to-toe fight, honestly. It was the closest distance. They basically evacuated the city. They'd send their elders and their kids and their women out.
Yeah.
And they let you come in. Wow. And that look, when you fight them, like there's a lot of people talk about enemies and everything. Like we fought the Mahdi militia in Iraq. They were not as advanced. They were not willing to send their women and their children and their elders out of town and say, now is a fight. They turned that city into a UFC cage. And they really just brought it toe to toe. And with them, along with them, actually, there were Arab fighters. There were like Yemenis, Saudis, and everything. So al-Qaeda was part of them, but not really all of them. Like we were fighting the Iraqis. And I believe that I saw an interview, actually one of their leaders who were fighting us in the first Fallujah battle. His name, he was a sheikh called Abdullah al-Krabi. And he said they burnt 4 warhouses from Saddam time. So there were a lot of warhouses around Fallujah during Saddam time. And when the U.S. entered Iraq, they went and they took these weapons and they hid them under the ground. And they made sure that no moisture goes near them. So they said they went through 4 different warhouses full of weapons and everything you can think of in the first Battle of Fallujah.
It's if I don't want to like, don't quote me on this, but I remember reading something statistically that something like maybe close to like a quarter of all the global war on terror casualties for America came in, I think the 2 battles of Fallujah. Like almost 25% of every casualty we suffered in that 25-year span came in those 2 battles.
If you look,
numbers might be a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that.
So if you think of Fallujah, Ramadi, the Anbar province, all the way to Haditha. So all of that is called the Anbar province in Iraq. Fallujah, Ramadi, Haditha, all the way to the Syrian borders. If you look into how many Marines were killed in that area, over 1,200 Marines, United States Marines were killed in that area, including my mentor, who I wear her name in my arm.
And we only lost 7,800-ish in the entire 25 years. So, I mean, that's close to 15% by itself.
And look, in Afghanistan, over 20 years, we did not lose that many. So,
oh God, no.
And here's why: because the Fallujah is one tribe, like all the Anbar province from Fallujah all the way to the Syrian borders. It's all one tribe. It means it's one opinion,
Right.
One say. And these happen to be the biggest shitheads we ever had in Iraq through history. Like, these are the Spartans of Iraq. And here's why. They tried to kill Saddam Hussein himself. Imagine
Oh
how
my God.
crazy Saddam was. The
Right.
only assassination, the first assassination against Saddam was made by someone from Fallujah, who was a pilot in the Iraqi military, and he was trying to load during one of these military shows. He was trying to load live ammunition, and he could shoot Saddam as he was there. So they rose up against Saddam at the time, and Saddam had to threaten them with chemical weapons in order for them to chill. So
and that's who you guys were fighting.
Yeah, man. I honestly, I don't take anything from them. I fought both sides of the aisle. I fought the Mahdi militia. I would fight the Mahdi militia all day long. The Mahdi militia had more casualties against the U.S. military than people in Fallujah had against the U.S. military.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not easy for you to kill one of them. I mean, look how smart they were. When we entered the neighborhood, they already have it drilled in between
Tunnels
concrete.
Everywhere, yeah.
In between concrete. So the craziest part in Fallujah that you will see is they'll hit you from the front, and 2 minutes later, they'll be behind you.
Yeah, so guys, Hamody will know about this. Those of you who haven't done like urban combat, CQB type combat, I do this as an instructor. If I know the layout and I can bore out different holes and back alleyways, by myself, I can fuck up like 6 people easily in a house, right? And so you're talking about the entire Iraqi. Were they Iraqi military? I'm assuming.
All of them were.
Right. And so these guys know the layout. They have everything set up. Like, that is an absolute nightmare from an urban combat situation. I mean, I feel like it just took overwhelming numbers and air power from the United States to have any chance to force their way through that, and a ton of casualties, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, I think we were lucky later on to really kind of make a deal with the tribes over there and start the movement of Son of Iraq to end the violence in that area. The problem is we couldn't separate between al-Qaeda in the Anbar province and the regular people. And that goes to show you that the United States of America did not really master the political game when they first entered Iraq. They were using force and power, but force and power means American casualty. And that's really, it took General Petraeus to go to the leader there and figure out a way to win him over al-Qaeda. And that's what happened. I mean, the way we got rid of al-Qaeda in Anbar province, it wasn't the United States that got rid of al-Qaeda. It was them getting rid of al-Qaeda, because they decided finally to say, yep, we'll work with you. And once we said, what about the al-Qaeda guy? They're like, don't worry about it. We got this. And they went and kicked out al-Qaeda. So they are, would I say they're radicals? No, I do believe the Blackwater incident, after these American Blackwater contractors got hangover on the bridge, it waged war, and there was no room for negotiation. So once Petraeus got on the ground, he kind of changed the outcome, because he did not want to continue have troops in contact anymore. So he kind of figured out the best way of eliminating al-Qaeda from the area by winning the people, by getting the people to not work with al-Qaeda.
Winning hearts and minds, right?
Yeah, which we paid them. We made them the sons of Iraq, and we made them. A lot of Americans get paid about the Taliban's getting paid right now.
I was just going to say, we did that really well in Afghanistan. That's Afghanistan. People don't realize, like, the vast majority of casualties in the global war on terror came out of Iraq, not out of Afghanistan. Afghanistan was really a special operations war. BSO and all these different things. Very, like, again, there was a lot of casualties. I mean, I had 3 of my teammates blown up, but comparatively, right, to Iraq, that was not the same conflict. And a lot of that was because we bought off warlords. We fucking, and even Taliban warlords who then became ANA warlords. Like, there was a lot, like you mentioned, of kind of highest bidder stuff.
I get tons of DMs, honestly, as soon as the Sean Ryan show was popping out about the Taliban and the millions of dollars. Tons of people send me DMs like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I'll tell you this, man, I tell people the truth. Like, I don't want to add any icing to the truth, right? And take one side over the other. I look at this and I say this, listen, we are paying the Taliban's millions and millions of dollars, but we are getting something in return called them not using Afghanistan to attack us anymore. We paid the insurance. This is our insurance money so that the Taliban would no longer allow al-Qaeda and other radicals to work with them. So they can use Afghanistan to attack the United States again. We don't want this to happen again. So our way of doing it, which we did it in Fallujah, we did it everywhere, in every place we've had conflict, we did it. We went and paid them off. And that's the price you pay. If you're mad about it and you want your money back in your pocket, then you have to worry about something even more dangerous. That's just why I actually have stood against the idea of trying to connect, which I don't want to bring that to your show but bring this on you. When I saw this on Sean Ryan's show, people talking about like, oh, they are working with al-Qaeda to attack us again. I want to make it clear that statement is not true. They are not working with al-Qaeda anymore, because if you understand the Taliban mentality,
and why would you if you're the Taliban? Like, we have control now.
You would be crazy to think that.
Why do we don't want America to come back.
Here's the thing. You'd be crazy to think that the Taliban will give $40 million over al-Qaeda's stinky ass to come around and tell them what to do again. No.
Yeah, and
they're not going to do it.
To Hamody's point, that's a lot of misunderstanding about Afghan ethnically, right? People don't understand, like, Afghans aren't Arabs, and like when ISIS came in and al-Qaeda came in, it was beneficial at the time because of the money and all the different things. Now, again, in the tribal system of Afghanistan, they don't need the Arabs to come in, so they have complete control, and they're doing just fine. I mean, if you could, guys, you can go look at MOD Afghanistan on YouTube. They've got a YouTube channel almost as big as mine.
They do. It's
kind of crazy to watch, right? A lot of it's United States equipment, but again, to Hamody's point, like, why would you let ISIS in your country if you're the Taliban? Why would you? I mean,
honestly, the Taliban is a business, and that will always.
And they have a good relationship with China now.
They do. They do.
So they don't need the Middle East.
First embassy to congratulate them and taking Afghanistan back was China. And,
that's right.
And I think that the Taliban is a political system, is a business, and they realize it doesn't really pay them much to be against the United States. So they actually made the best golden deal with the United States. And I believe a lot of people, saying, you got to stop sending money to them. Look, at the same time, that's how politics works. So if you want to get rid of the bad guy, you have to pay the less bad guy a little bit of money, so to make sure you know what's going on.
I'll tell you this, because I was there. I spent a lot of time in Taliban villages fighting the Taliban. I thought by the end of the war, man, I was like, why don't we just fucking give the Taliban power and make a deal with them? We don't even have to give up Bagram. Don't give up CAF. Just make an actual, like, look at Syria. We're doing deals with Syria, and the president of Syria is the former second in charge of al-Qaeda. So obviously we don't care that much about this type of thing. So why didn't we just make a deal, give them power, and like put some stipulations in it, right? And people were like, oh, well, they won't let women go to school. And it's like, look, man, I've been in a lot of Taliban villages, and I'll tell you, the way we always knew we were in a Taliban village was the women, because the women were incredibly aggressive and loud and scream and would get in your face and like super defensive of the men. And you'd hear from them, they're like, we don't want that shit. We don't want Western stuff here. We like it here. We like, and now it's not everybody in Afghanistan, right? But I'm just saying, you kind of like, as an American, that was like a wake up call to me of like, whoa, shit, these people don't want my Western lifestyle.
Yeah, like,
they're happy about how they're living culturally, in a lot of senses.
And I think that the Afghanistan is taking a different route. They're keeping this relationship with the United States. I make it clear, these are our enemies. You fought them, and I'm not trying to tell you like, hey, man, you look. The Taliban
are good people. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the Taliban is now our friends, whether you like it or not. Yep. And they are in the payroll. And now we do what they're going to do what we tell them to do. But the one thing that I'm concerned about is them not allowing al-Qaeda ideologists and al-Qaeda to use Afghanistan as a place anymore. That's why I disagreed with a lot of statements online recently coming out everywhere on the internet and podcasts about how strong al-Qaeda is right now. I'm like, no, they're not in Afghanistan. They are not in cahoots with the Taliban. The Taliban is turning into like an American system where they have a spokesperson, YouTube channel, and they're talking about how great the kebabs is in Afghanistan. You should come visit.
Oh, the food's incredible. It's fucking incredible.
It's a whole different thing. And I believe that if you go back to Afghanistan right now, they will not put their hands on you. I can guarantee you that.
And here's also, guys, when you talk about just from a business standpoint, you know where all the world's opium comes from? It comes from Afghanistan, like 90%. Okay. And guess what? All of that trade, do you know where it goes now? Obviously to China. China has all of this, right? So they're not about to give up the Opium Valley, right? From Pakistan all the way through Kandahar, Helmand, out through Thurah. That's the Mecca. And they have a great relationship with China. The business is booming. They're not trying to bring in, now again, who knows what happens, but like why would you bring in, put a turd in the punch bowl and bring al-Qaeda back in? A bunch of extremist Arabs come back in your country if you're the Taliban? It doesn't actually make any sense.
Makes no sense. I think there's a guy here who he had a serious question. He donated like $10 or something, and he was like, I need to have a question.
Yeah, we got super chats. We're going to do that next. We got a bunch of them. And we're gonna hit, and then last thing we're going to talk about is Tim Kennedy, our boy Tim Kennedy, because Hamody had some relatives, unfortunately, that if you haven't seen his joke, hopefully I can pull it up. I might not be able to find
Someone earlier said poet Hamody.
Poet Hamody, yeah, Hamody is a poet. That was probably the best comment on that entire that post has almost like 1 million views.
I'm very thankful for Tim Kennedy. He healed my PTSD for sure.
There you go. All right, let's hit these super chats and then we'll jump into that. And of course, Grand Bear $5. TK made so many friends by calling suicidal vets pussies. Good job, Tim. God, dude. And not only worse than that, I'm going to show you a clip, Hamody, of him calling Gold Star widows bitches. You've already seen that one. So
I shared that with you today. Gold Star.
Oh yeah,
mom.
you shared. You shared it with me.
She reached out to me about how hurt you.
And just disgusting, right? I mean, just the more that gets dug up, the more you realize. And guys, I know stories I can't tell of things he's done to people that would just blow your mind at what a piece of shit this guy is. Crazy. All right, Jesse Tor, $2. Do Odin Yanan explain modern Middle Eastern problems? Odin Yanan?
I have no idea.
All right, well, Hamody doesn't know.
Yanan. I did Yanan. I think that's an Afghan thing, probably. Question.
NFC boys, $10. No comment. Appreciate you. Hunter Rome, $5. Just curious, is that a master combat badge in your awards display? A master combat badge in my awards display? I mean, I have a CIB and a Valor award. I don't have a master combat badge.
Like that's you, because I got no medals. The only medals I have is in my leg.
Yeah, no, I got it. Well, I mean, I have a CIB, right? If that's what you mean, then yes, if that's what you meant. Joe Saunders, $5. Oh, Hamody, as a veteran of the Gulf War in 90 and 91, I have so many questions. Just take my $5. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciated that.
All right. Zuby, $5. Hamody, there's been some comments from a Marine that sparked some debate. He said Iraq War was JV and Afghanistan was varsity. I'll tell you guys, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard as a guy who spent most of my time in Afghanistan. I guess, Hamody, you were in Iraq. I was in Afghanistan. I never served in Iraq, but I have buddies that did both, and that's not a fucking thing. Almost.
What is it? What is the question? What is the JV?
So we'll explain like high school sports. JV is like where freshmen and the younger guys play. Varsity is like the big leagues. That's the big boy leagues. So he's saying the Iraq War was like the fucking pussy stuff. Afghanistan is where the big dogs were playing. I think that's completely backwards. Completely backwards. I would love to say that I fought the hard war guys, but that's not the case.
So if that's true statement, why do we have 1,100 people that got killed over 20 years in Afghanistan? Why do we have over 5,000 people got killed in Iraq in over just 3 years?
Yeah. Now there's individual issues of combat that were crazy. I was on a mission where we got near ambush twice. Super fucking crazy. Individual missions, sure, but does that compare to the Battle of Fallujah or Ramadi? There's not really anything like that in Afghanistan at that scale. So that's not a thing. It's his own opinion, that Marine. That's fine, but I don't think many people would agree with that. Matt Byrne, $5. Just ordered my Valhalla VFT sweatshirt. Thank you, Nate, for the awesome content. Appreciate you, brother. Joe Saunders again. Hamody, question. Was Iraq or Baghdad the true home of the Hanging Gardens, one of the seven wonders Rock on Hamody and Nate.
Yes, actually, yeah, the Hanging
What's
Gardens
the Hanging
is
Gardens.
yeah, Iraq is. It's not in Baghdad, in the city of Baghdad, it's outside of Baghdad. It's about an hour outside of Baghdad.
What is it? I haven't heard of that.
I mean, it is. The Hanging Gardens has been around for like history.
Oh,
Iraq.
I was thinking like people hanging because you had mentioned
no. The Hanging Gardens is
people, so. Okay.
It's them. They built like above a ground gardens back in the day. I mean, obviously these civilizations were so much more advanced back in our time.
Well, I mean, Iraq is the first society. That's
we created the first constitution.
Yeah.
We created the first car wheel in the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, cool.
And then Tim Kennedy showed up, and then
ruined everything. Unlisted $10 Hamody. I haven't heard SOI since I was in Iraq 07-08 with the Rakasans. Every month we would give the tribal leader a bag of cash in the Yusufia area. Thanks for the commentary in Iraq. Rakasan.
Yeah. They're true. That's very true. They Yusufia, and they probably he's talking about the son of Iraq.
Okay.
The son of Iraq's, they called him the son of Iraq, and then they will paid him a lot of money.
Yeah, okay, we did that in Afghanistan to some trouble.
Yes, yeah, great question.
Fan of Sarah Adams?
No. False information. False information.
You don't like Sarah Adams?
No. False information.
What? Guys, I said this on the War Room. Is as soon as Hamody started talking, and just everything he said out of his mouth was exactly what I always say, and I'm like, this guy's fucking great. I love this guy, and this question right here, I'm gonna agree with you too. I think she is.
I just happen to be Black Nate,
I think she's full of fucking shit. I've been highly critical of her. So
look, I actually faced her with fact. And actually, she came to my comment sections and she discussed it with me, and I discussed it back with her in public. Yeah. And she ended up blocking me. I didn't do anything.
Oh, she blocks everybody.
Yeah. She blocked
Anybody
me.
that disagrees with her, she blocks.
And look, man, I'll be honest with you about this. I don't have anything against Sean Ryan. I love the dude. I support him.
Oh, Sean's great.
Yeah, when I was in the hospital last year, this dude like wished me well when I was in the hospital. He was praying for me. Great guy. I don't want to attack him. I'm happy for him that he is doing well with his podcast and his world. The one thing that I disagreed with is, look, man, this is very dangerous business. Counterterrorism is like cocaine.
Yeah.
The more you sniff of it, you get high. And when you get high, you don't know what you're going to do. You're going to do things that you aren't in control of. And it's pretty big statement for you to come in and say there is 1,000 al-Qaeda fighters that entered the United States through the borders of the United States. You know what? 1,000 will whip our ass if they really do come through. 1,000 real al-Qaeda operative. Yeah. Look, this kind of information might make the audience who are listening to it happy, so they can be prepared to have a gun class or buy ammo. By all means, get yourself ready, protect yourself. Train is a great idea. But what I'm saying is, when you give this information to an uneducated person in counterterrorism and say there are 1,000 fighters entered the country, it sounds like a TV show called 24 Legacy. That's what it sounds for. For me, that's what it sounds for as a counterterrorism guy who spent most of my life fighting terrorists. What this does, here's what this does. What this does, it makes an educated person discriminate against people like myself because they think I am a sleeper cell. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I am sick and tired of people out there who promote racism as patriotism. Like, they look at every brown dude and they just think, oh, you might be a sleeper cell. And they don't even know my background. Yeah. They didn't even know where I come from. So you putting that kind of information out there is extremely dangerous. And look, when you say
it's irresponsible too, because she doesn't know shit. And I'll explain where she kind of exposed herself to me. Hamody was, I don't know if you saw the whole thing where the whole Benghazi thing between, and for reference, her husband was one of the people involved. And that's why her book that she wrote, and then the two Delta Force operators who one got a Medal of Honor for, by the way, that all came out, and she basically attacked these Delta Force operators who hadn't said anything yet, that they are liars and they didn't know the story, and she knows the real story and all this. It's like, you weren't fucking there. You don't know the fucking story better than the two Delta operators who were on the fucking ground. You heard the story from your husband. And so that's another one of these things of like, where did you
And I want to
say it
this.
like you're an expert. It's like you're not an expert. You weren't fucking there.
Look,
you're not an on the ground CIA operative ground bench. You work behind a desk. What are you fucking talking about?
Here's my thing, bro. When she says 1,000 Al-Qaeda fighters entered the United States, and this is for Sean too, because I worry about his authentic podcast and the way he brings it. If you say
he's had Rob O'Neill on, he's had Marcus Luttrell on, Sarah Adams.
Look, in the intelligent world, when you give information, when you say 1,000 and then she changed the statement to 1,500, how do you know these exact numbers? Like it's not 1,307 guys. It's exactly 1,000, exactly 500. And that's where I kind of like, listen, you put Al-Qaeda on a steroid. And actually, that's wrong. That actually extremely wrong, because what this does, it put fear into this people. And here's why I stood up against that statement and why I kind of had to speak out to say something about it, because a woman reached out to me and told me she bought $15,000 worth of supplies.
Oh my God.
Because she thought we were going to get attacked. That's not the only thing. Once I actually questioned her information, all I asked, I said, hey, is your source a verifiable source of the United States intelligence community? Or this is just, somebody in Afghanistan? And she said, no, this is just my own information. Listen, if you can infiltrate the Taliban while sitting in Florida,
right?
If you think you really got that power, I mean, I was
there in Afghanistan, and we couldn't pull that type of intel.
Brother, I spent 6 years trying to infiltrate these bastards.
Yeah,
and it was extremely difficult. I infiltrated Iran before I was able to infiltrate Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and my records speak for itself out there on it. And those guys are not easy. So when you give these numbers, it's just too much exaggeration to put fear into people. And the biggest thing Al-Qaeda could achieve against you is make you afraid of them. Yeah. So why, if you remember when they have the attack in what state? I think it's New Orleans attack.
Homegrown.
Yeah. And they said, we told you. And I'm like, what did you tell us?
That was homegrown.
The dude acted, it's called lone wolf attack. The dude acted on his own.
Well, and also, and this is the truth, whether people like it or not. People are far more likely to get radicalized within the United States than being able to enter the United States. That's a real thing. And so there is, of course, is there potential sleeper cells in the United States? Absolutely. The southern border was open for 4 years. Is there thousands and thousands of Afghan Al-Qaeda in the United States? Unlikely. And again, to your point, it's like they take a little bit of a truth, which of course there's Chinese spies here, there's Israeli spies here, there's Iranian spies here, guys, and we have them in every country in the world. Like, understand that the United States does as well. This is just kind of how this works. But to say there's thousands and thousands that are just pouring in. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't had a problem at the border, but it's a lot more difficult than that.
Bro, I mean, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to put it right on your show, drop it off. I have some of her people reached out to me, and they were trying to likely convince me somehow to back up from my statement and support her on it. I will never do that. I'm the kind of guy that had the knife on my neck in Iraq, and I never gave up what I believed in. And it was so silly that whoever reached out to me, who knows himself, he probably hear this too. He was like, well, are you a terrorist?
Oh my God.
And he's just lucky I won't say his name right now.
Yeah.
But I was like, bro, you want to call me a terrorist? Let's put my records and yours right in front of the public, and let's see who's more American. But I was like, for the fact that for you to say this to me, because I brought the truth about this. I'm not Al-Qaeda. I don't like Al-Qaeda. They killed most of my friends. They injured me physically today. Right. But I really want to put them on steroids more than what they are worth today? They're going through the worst time of their life. No one is welcoming them anymore in Afghanistan or anywhere else in the world. They went back to being nobody, and they're trying to regroup them for themselves. Yeah, they are in Somalia. They are in other countries in Africa. But, putting this kind of information out there just for the fact to sell ammo and gun courses.
It's fear mongering.
I have to stand up. I have to stand up because I'm raising a child in this country. And I don't want some dipshit to think that me and my child are asleep in a cell because they think there's 1,000 fighters lost somewhere in the world.
I'll tell you this, I cover a lot of this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys, have you seen me do an episode on Sarah Adams' sleeper cells? Everybody was talking about this when this broke. The reason why I didn't want, and this is what I cover, is this content. And when it broke and I watched that episode, I went, no, that's dumb. I'm not gonna grift on that for reviews because it's obviously.
Here's the one thing that I want to say, and I'll say it in your show, and I will challenge that. She stated that 1,000 fighters or 1,500 fighters, she said both numbers, that will conduct an attack in the United States within 2025. On January 1st, 2026, if this doesn't happen, and I'm challenging everybody in this chat, everybody watching this show, if this doesn't happen, Sean Ryan owe me a sandwich.
Well, I'll be able to get a hold of him and let him know on that day.
You owe Hamody a sandwich. You owe me a sandwich.
All right, we definitely got deep into that one. Good question, by the way. For a $2 comment, you got a lot of value out of that one. All right, MIB is for who have been awarded EIB and CIB. Oh yeah, if you got both of them. No, I never got an EIB. That's not really what we do in SF. So an EIB, Hamody, is like this competition you go to that's like a mock version of combat that you can get. Yeah, it's whatever, I guess. All right, Backman Union, $10. Everyone go check out the new episode of Anti-Hero and the breakdown of Battle of Tucker Gar. Thanks all for the great content. Rangers lead the way. Let me just say this, guys. If you watch that episode, I don't know if Brent prefaced it. And I'm not saying anything's wrong here. I'm just saying I do not believe or trust anything that comes out of the mouth of people that were in charge of that operation after what they did to John Chapman. Okay, so
yeah,
I will just tell you that that was a commander in charge that gave that interview, and he's going to have his own opinion. He knows more than me. However, I watched what the Navy commanders did to John Chapman and that entire story, so I'll take everything you heard on that episode with a grain of salt. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Obviously, there's some heavy bias involved in that. All right. Joe Saunders, $5. Hamody, question: could a veteran come and visit and check history out? Yeah, I'm a nerd for history. Rock on, bro. I think he means in Iraq, probably.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You could. I'm actually working with a Marine right now, hoping to one day, if peace makes it in Iraq and we are no longer, wanted people or nobody. Government doesn't have anything against military personnel. I'm hoping one day we can go back to the Anbar province and do a documentary of the area and go back to the people. Maybe I'll go apologize to the couple houses that I shot down. Like, I'll put those cements on the wall for you. Fix it up. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
All right, so we're gonna pivot to end the stream with a little bit of fun. This has been an awesome stream. I love talking to you because I learned so much, and it's very rare that I get a guest on where I get to be like, oh shit, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's awesome to learn. I didn't know.
We should do a show. Be like White Nate and Black Nate.
And I agree. Like, when I get somebody that's a super, a big time expert on this who agrees with all the things I've been saying on my show, it's like, yeah, fuckers, that's right. But all right, let's talk about some Tim Kennedy stuff. I just got sent this clip from my buddy Dave Hookstead.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it entails, but he's dug up a lot of it. So we're gonna watch this together. Who knows? Who knows about what we're about to see? Then I'm gonna show you guys the clip Hamody sent me of Tim calling Gold Star widows bitches, and we'll move it from there. All right. So I have no idea what we're stepping into here, but let's watch this together.
With 20-something deployments overseas, I've never seen anything like Afghanistan during the fall of Afghanistan.
Okay, that was short, but obviously the point here, guys, with 20-something deployments, and he said that to Joe Rogan, apparently, he has 2 deployments. He's deployed for 12 months. He said with 20 plus deployments.
I spent 6 years in combat in Iraq.
And guess what? 20 plus deployments is way more than that, brother.
Yeah, that's a lot, man. Yeah.
I was talking to, who was I talking to? Oh, I can't say who I was talking to because of he was friends with Tim, and I don't want to give the name up. You guys can guess in the chat. One of my buddies today, and we were talking about 20 plus deployments and what that would mean in special forces on average of a 6-month deployment. I believe that's something, what was it? 10 years in combat.
Wow. He's more Iraqi than I am then.
Yeah, he spent more time in the Iraq war than you did. So congrats to Tim Kennedy on that one. All right, and then let me pull up real quick this other one that we had. Did you send me the meme, or did you send me, or no, you sent me the post from?
I sent you it's a screenshot of it, I believe. I can send you the.
No, I've got the video.
Yeah.
I definitely got the video here in one of the chats pretty deep. One sec, guys. Oh, there's other thing I need to talk about with his website, because his website, Hamody, did you watch my video on his website with Black Rifle Coffee?
Yes, I did. I did watch all the comments popping out. Yeah.
We'll talk about that first because, oh, wait, is it? No, that's 20 plus deployments. Gotta find a little bit higher. Is that one it? There's so many in this chat of just super ridiculous shit that he's said. Is it this one?
Yet, I think is the most powerful.
No, that's his stupid yet comments.
Earned. And the hard truth is that abortion has.
Yeah, send it to me. How did I get to? Sorry, guys. All right, let's talk real quick about as I look for this. Real quick about so guys, we did the video on his website, okay, which I can pull up right now, which is back up at timkennedy.com. So this is fantastic. So if we, and I'll go ahead and just share the screen on this actually, so we can look at this together. Let's drop this. All right, here we go. So timkennedy.com, we did a whole episode on this, guys. So if you didn't know, Black Rifle Coffee Company, and I know I'm friends with the owners, and they gave me the information and they gave me the emails of them their lawyers trying to get him to take this down. Tim was cut off and was dropped by Black Rifle Coffee Company in December because they have a stolen valor clause in their employee contracts, right? And so they said, basically, until we figure out the truth about this, we're not going to have a relationship with you. Obviously, Hamody, you've seen the most recent ones where he no shit lies about having a Bronze Star Medal of Valor out of his own mouth. They said, we're officially done with you. They've been trying to get him to take down this off his website that we're going to look at, which he refuses to do, which is, if you go to his sponsorship page or partners, Tim Kennedy's partners, and you scroll down, Black Rifle Coffee Company. Now, Black Rifle Coffee Company has literally sent him, and I put it in my video, basically a cease and desist from their lawyers. The interesting thing was his website got taken down right after they sent it to him 2 days ago. That's what I did the episode on. So we figured, shit, they're panicking. They bring it down. They just put the website back up, and he's still refusing to take down that he's sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee Company. I imagine he's probably not sponsored by most of these companies. And so they're like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure obviously they're going to have to sue him now.
Yes,
wow. But I mean, just the level of psychotic behavior to think about that, Hamody. A company, first of all, this is business fraud, Hamody. If you didn't know, someone with a master's degree in business, I can say that. Yes, you cannot say that a company sponsors you if they don't. That is actually misrepresentation and business fraud. You can be sued for it. And even after he puts his website back up, he's still lying about his sponsors. Like, what? In what world of mental delusion? Also, Hamody, they're not paying him money. So why? It doesn't. To me, it makes no sense.
I you know, like, to be honest with you, like in my opinion, I'm just thinking, I'm like, why any of his teammates or friends have not like reached out to offer him help?
Oh, they have. You want me to tell you about all of them they have and what's happened?
They have. So they kind of tried to offer him help. What is his response?
I'm friends with a lot of them too.
Wow.
So
it's just like,
so what happened was when this all broke, most of them, a lot of them that I know, reached out to him and told him, hey man, you have to come clean. Like, just come clean, apologize. Like, people will forgive you. You'll be fine. He literally ghosted and has refused to speak to or talk to every single one of his friends that has tried to get him to come clean. No longer has personal relationships with any of them.
Yeah. And honestly, look, in a way, I just want to say this, like, in a way that you don't have to prove anything. Like whether you were in combat, whether, you know, I saw one statement that bothered me the most, and he stated that he killed kids
and women.
And listen, look, I really do hope that you are not, you know, that you are not serious about it. I hope you are, you know,
he's not. His teammates have verified those. He made that up.
Like, but listen, here's the thing.
I have it right here, Hamody. I'll pull it up.
I hope he's wrong, because I think killing a kid in combat is considered a war crime. There are not that many fighting kids in Iraq at the time. I don't know if he's talking about Afghanistan, but it's just you cannot go making a statement like that. And I would pray for him that this is not a true statement. Killing kids or women, or, you know, comparing his life to it. I mean,
here it is right here.
Yeah, during the oh man, I mean,
I have killed kids and women during war. I have seen my friends and soldiers burned alive. The thing that's crazy is Dave Hookstead pulled this up. Then he also pulled up other clips of Tim Kennedy bragging about how none of his teammates were killed in any of his combat time. So it's like, what do you? Why would you make this up and post this on the internet?
Honestly, that's a huge statement. That's you confessing to committing war crimes. Literally.
This is the same one when later he calls veterans with PTSD pussies. This is the same.
Same well, clearly you haven't seen combat. That's clear. Like, you know, if you call people who've been to war and have PTSD, like, honestly, I've watched guys recently calling this on PTSD, and they've been calling us out. And it's guys that never been in action.
Yes.
And they're calling us out. They're calling us out like, oh, you're being a bunch of pussies, because now I could go to the gym and lift a couple 100 pounds and look buffed and take something, and you're being a pussy. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, do you understand what I have seen between 2003 and 2008 in Iraq? Do you understand? I'm like, do you understand how many body parts that I had to pick every single day? And the worst part of it, like, I was like, you want to know the worst part of it, of war? If you want to hear, like, the worst part of war, it was the smell of burned bodies. That is the worst thing.
I've walked past that after
worst thing you could ever experience in combat. And, you know, to this day, my brain doesn't feel the same from watching and smelling that. Yeah. And honestly, it was a great example to, like, showing you, like, how much we were going against God to murder one another. And hurt one another, and look at this, like, bad action we took. And I look into it and I'm like, do you know what's like to have PTSD? I'm like, PTSD has been one of my worst enemies my whole life. And I live with this every single day. And, you know, it's not a choice of mine to wake up one day and say, you know, life is normal. What I saw should be just deleted. Look, I had one guy, and I want to share this story about PTSD. I had a rocket, Katyusha rocket, fell short on my checkpoint. I think I sent you a picture of me walking in between two car bombs in the front line, and you saw that. It's on my social media. Mm-hmm. That checkpoint got hit so much twice a day. And one day they decided to hit it with a Katyusha rocket, which is where my checkpoint was. And the rocket fell short, about 20 meters short. 20 meters short was a daycare for children.
Ugh.
And I want to share this with Tim. And I want him to hear it. Like, saying that statement of, I killed kids. Me, and I'm sorry if I get emotional talking about it.
No, you're good, brother.
The first two people arrived in that scene were me and 101st Staff Sergeant, NCO. That guy got pulled. That guy, the American guy next to me, got pulled out of Iraq immediately. His guns were taken away from him, and he got pulled out of Iraq immediately. I continued to stay there and do my job every single day. Yeah. And watching kids get murdered and watch kids' legs and arms fly away, and the only person alive, because I felt right on their classroom, was the teacher. It was a male teacher. And I didn't know, me and my combat medics, we didn't know how to carry that dude because every limb was in a different direction of his body. And I look at that and I just like, you have the audacity to come and say I murdered a child.
Yeah.
And
make it up. He's making these things up.
And it takes me back to this day. Like, to this day, when you talk about PTSD, you think I'm a pussy? Every single day in my life, I wish that rocket fell exactly where I was standing.
Yeah.
So these kids didn't have to get murdered the way they did. And you think I'm a pussy for that day to hunt me every single my day.
Yep.
I would love to put you in that position. I would love to tell you where that American staff sergeant from the 101st is today. I don't know if the dude is alive or dead, but he got pulled out of Iraq. They took his pistol and they took his M4 from him and they sent him home.
I'm going to, because I appreciate you sharing that story with you. I have PTSD. I've done a ton of behavioral health for it. But that comment, when I saw it, and again, this is going to show you guys, you've got two guys sitting here telling you stories different about seeing fucking children get killed and PTSD and suicide. So I'll tell my story. One of my best friends, and I'm going to share the screen because I pulled it up. One of my best friends and one of my teammates, the worst moment and the worst loss of my entire military career. It's not even close. And I'm going to put him on the stream just because, again, it's relevant. You told a good story. This is my teammate, Nick, former Force Recon, for Marine Force. I'll try not to get emotional too. Former Force Recon Marine that became a Green Beret, the most stellar, awesome, kind soldier I ever worked with. He was one of those guys that literally, he was never, he made you feel like you were fucking the best at everything. No matter what you did, you had a bad day, he would always fucking make you, but he was also a savage warfighter. In 2018 in Afghanistan, we were in a pretty nasty gunfight. He ended up shooting a dude in the chest that was INTing through a wood line to try to basically maneuver on our position. After all of the combat died down, turned out it was an ISIS fighter who had a 1-year-old child strapped to his chest as body armor.
Wow.
That round went through that child and that combatant. Wow. Obviously, nothing on him that he could have done. He didn't know. It's nasty. Yeah. War's nasty. And again, somebody's trying to kill us, right?
Yeah.
He took his life 2 years ago. And so so when I hear, that's one of my closest teammates and friends. When I hear somebody like Tim fucking Kennedy make up and lie about killing kids and then say he doesn't have any fucking PTSD from it, but guys like me and Hamody are fucking pussies from having PTSD. See, again, I don't share these stories, guys, but now that you do, you get a little bit, maybe you watching the channel, for all of you that are like, you won't leave Tim Kennedy alone. Maybe now you might fucking get it. Why guys like me and Hamody in the Green Beret community, in the military community says, fuck this guy. We're not going to put up with this, is because of shit like that. Because that's the stuff, we lost friends. Okay. We've seen this type of shit for real that he hasn't. And so for him to fucking make it up and then say, fuck you, you pussies, get over it. Nah, man.
So basically 22 veterans a day are pussies.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it is. Like, and honestly, I feel like this guy needs to really check himself.
Stronger.
And it's worse than that, right? Here, I'm going to pull this one up too, because I got this one too, where he calls Gold Star fucking widows bitches, dude. Which is just, it's like, it almost, you think it can't get any worse. And then it gets worse. It just consistently gets worse. So watch this one. This one just got pulled up as well.
There's nothing stronger on the planet than the Special Forces ODA, the A-Team.
What does ODA mean?
Operational Detachment Alpha, the A-Team. Those dudes, like, godfather to so many of those kids, right? I'm at their weddings. I'm at the birth of their children. Like, those are like my brothers.
I envy that. I envy that I honestly envy that you have those bonds.
Hold on, let's see.
You know, like if one of them dies and we come back, and this is where it gets your heart torn out. You know, like the mom or his wife is sitting there and they're like, you know, like you didn't know him. Like this is my husband. You know, like I'm so sorry, ma'am. But you want to be like, Bitch, you didn't know him.
Yeah.
I sat there for 20 hours looking at a goddamn tree. You don't think we sit there and talk for 20 fucking hours? I can tell you what you sound like when you sleep. You know, I can tell you what.
Like the audacity to,
Yeah.
he's talking about being at a funeral with a
Yeah.
wife who just lost her fucking husband.
Yeah.
And that's what he's thinking about. Bitch, you didn't know him like me.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, like honestly, like I don't know if he's aware that if you have lost anybody in combat, Gold Star families is a red zone that we don't go
You
to.
do not fucking cross.
You do not cross. We do not say, look, man, I met a Gold Star mom just a few months ago, and she says something about Iraqis in general. And I did not say a word. I didn't even tell her that I am an Iraqi. And I just kept it quiet because there's some kind of a level of respect that we give them that benefit, like that there's a respect to that. And actually, I shared that with you because a Gold Star wife have sent this to me, and she said how much that hurt her.
Let's put this on the screen, Hamody, because there's people like this out here. As we're talking about this, as you just told that story.
Yeah.
Fly Mike here says, "Damn, you're glazing Tim Kennedy again." Could you imagine making that comment after we just told those two stories about why we have a problem with what Tim Kennedy's doing? Could you imagine being this guy?
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about that. Everybody in the chat, take a look at Fly Mike and think about the type of human being he is after Hamody just told that story. And that's his comment. So good job, bud.
If your sister lost her husband at war and someone called her a bitch, I'm sure you'll like that.
Yeah. Good job, man. All right, let's hit these final super chats and then we'll wrap it up. This has been a really good one. Let's see. I don't want to miss them. All right, here we go. Dano, not the Lions, Den, $5. Thank you both again. I started feeling lonely in this fight, brothers, but not today, Satan, not today, man. The amount of, Hamody, and you probably get this too with all your content, the amount of veterans, and I don't know why it helps you guys, but I love that it does, that reach out to me and say, man, your podcast fucking helps me. It's a lot of people, and it makes me feel good about what we're doing.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like, look, man, the war never ends for us. The war starts for us when we come home. And
that's a real thing.
Mental health is a serious issue. And PTSD is a legit issue. It's a serious issue. I'm an Iraqi who was born and raised in war my whole environment, and I have PTSD. So if you're struggling out there, you have to understand I'm there with you. We're all in the end of it. That is our battle. That is the war that continued for us. And that's why they say only those who died will see the end of war. So we'll continue to work on yourself. Continue to work on yourself is all I can say to him.
All right. Backman Union, $20. Thank you, brother. It's very generous. Nate, I have some questions. Love to pick your brain for some training for my department. We'll DM you. Thanks, not carrying a rock full of M67s grenades. Yeah, brother. Just message me on Instagram if you're interested in something like that. We can work something out. All right. Airborne Professor, $10 for the first person who has a non-verbal discussion with TK. Well, I mean, I've talked to him. I know him. So that's the thing people don't realize too. If you haven't seen my Instagram, we got fucking pictures together. All right, Jake Benson, $5. TK got away with it for so long, being a recruitment tool. Only people listening to him were people who didn't know better, love the content, keep it up. That's definitely a real thing. He definitely did. He definitely did get away for a lot of it. And there's a lot of that going around of all these people at the top of the military who condoned this. They might face some trouble too. All right, unlisted $5 saw I can't read that out loud because of YouTube. In the arms of father in Afghanistan.
I can read it in the arms of father in Afghanistan. I'll never forget that.
Hamody, yeah. No, I just mean we can't read it because of YouTube demonetization. Yeah, man. That's not something rare. That I mean, Hamody's seen it, I've seen it, you've seen it. And again, to think that you're not going to have any mental trauma from something like that is just. Which it really proves Hamody is like the people who say that never saw shit. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So it takes $5. Stop glazing Tim Kennedy. Talk about vets that have a proper story. Forget Tim Kennedy. Wow, Fly Mike again. Man, I mean, I appreciate you donating money, but God, you might be the biggest piece of shit I've ever had donate on my channel. You are a fucking scumbag, dude. That's all I have to say to you. I have no problem saying that, man. Like, Hamody, you think this is a good dude?
I think he needs to recheck his statement. Like, listen, man. Like, you don't have your sister and your mom is not a gold star mom. You are not being told you're a pussy because you have PTSD. You need to look at things from outside of the box. We are absolutely have no interest in attacking the guy, or nobody would attack him even if he didn't have to make these statements. But when you make statements like that, you need to expect people would respond to you. So I think people have the logic to understand who's wrong and who is right.
Also, I love that he says, talk about vets that have a proper story. Who do you think's on the fucking channel with me right now? Have you not heard how fucking crazy Hamody's goddamn fucking story is?
It's like a proper story. I don't know. Talk to Tim Kennedy. Maybe he has a proper story.
We're talking to someone with a proper story. I just had Andy Stump on the podcast last week. I had Brent Tucker on the podcast 2 days before. I had Hamody on today. What more do you want for fucking proper vet story? You know what I mean? My God.
He needs some education.
Airborne professor, $2. I got my psych degree. More to fix me than others. That's a good point, man. I like
good point. Yep. Good point.
All right. You're fired gamer, $5. Great content. Much love. Appreciate you, brother. And then last one, Patrick Starfish, very thought-provoking stream. Thanks, you two. Appreciate it, guys. Yeah, this has been an awesome one. We'll definitely have you back on the channel if you ever want to come back on Hamody, because this has been great. You're one of my favorite guys to talk to. We'll get you back on the war room for sure. Anything? Pitch your stuff, man. Pitch your stuff, because you're an author. You've got pretty big. Let's make sure we put your Instagram channel up here for,
please.
All my followers to.
Thank you. I appreciate
find you. So we'll get that. So give a rundown on, what you got going on, your books, all that type of stuff.
Honestly, I only have one book, which is my biography, the whole entire life and the whole entire war, in a 250-page, simple and easy way to explain everything that happened in Iraq. You can find my book, The Terrorist Whisperer, on Amazon, or order it from anywhere you want to. What also good is my story became a documentary with the true footage, including the CIA director and General David Petraeus and members of the intelligence community and former CIA analysts as well. You can find that on Amazon Prime under the same name, The Terrorist Whisperer, which would look like my soldier figure in the back, which is the better looking Hamody, which I call him the white Hamody, because I am the black Hamody. He's the white Hamody. So you could find that on Amazon Prime, all same name, The Terrorist Whisperer. My content is all about mental health and PTSD, and I am actually working on something right now to come up with something that I can help other veterans, to mentor other veterans with PTSD.
That's awesome. All right, let me here we go. All right, we got Hamody's Instagram pinned to the pinned comment, guys. Make sure you go follow him on Instagram. Awesome content. And man, dude, this has been a good one. Thank you so much for coming on, Hamody. We'll definitely have you back on. Any last comments for the stream before we log off?
Yeah, I think our guy just made a comment again. It's good comment for him. Good comment.
Yeah, I mean, and again, maybe you learned something here tonight. I hope you did.
I hope you did. I hope you did.
That would be important for you. All right, brother. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you all for coming. It's been a great stream. Thank you all for the super chats and donations. We are out of here. All right.